Alabama Chief Justice Roy Moore can always be relied on to have some interesting ideas about the separation of church and state. But listen to what he thinks about the First Amendment.
Our political system is politically correct not to say prayers before council meetings, not to acknowledge God. Oh, we do it when we get in trouble, when they bomb the Twin Towers. All the Congress line up on the steps and acknowledge Buddha. No, they don't acknowledge Buddha. They acknowledge the God of the Scriptures upon which this nation was founded. But I'll tell you this. Everybody, to include the United States Supreme Court, has been deceived as to one little word in the First Amendment called religion. They can't define it. They can't define it the way Mason, Madison, and even the United States Supreme Court defined it, the duties we owe to the Creator and the manner of discharging it. They don't want to do that because that acknowledges the Creator God. Buddha didn't create us. Muhammad didn't create us.
That's right.
It's the God of the Holy Scriptures. They didn't bring a Koran over on the pilgrim ship Mayflower. Let's get real. Let's go back and learn our history. Let's stop playing games.
That was an awesome piece of circular logic.
Yeah, totally. That was really great.
So they meant Christianity because obviously the other religions are wrong. Buddha didn't create us. Muhammad didn't create us. It must have been Jesus. Hello, knuckleheads.
And just in case anybody who doesn't know much about sort of comparative religious studies doesn't know, people who are Islamic don't follow Muhammad. They worship Allah, which is literally the exact same God that he's talking about in that clip. It's the same freaking entity.
The Quran is supposed to be the third book. It's the Old Testament, the New Testament, and the Quran, according to Muslims. So Muhammad is a prophet as Jesus is a prophet. Mm-hmm. And Jesus is an incredibly important prophet in Islam, right? So Allah is at this point synonymous with and has become the Arabic word for God. So he's talking about the same creator, the same God. Muslims don't think Muhammad created us, okay? And I'm pretty sure Buddhists don't think that Buddha created us.
That's the best part.
Yeah. And then that's immediately followed by, how about we learn our history? This guy.
Yeah, it would be scary to have a chief justice in a state who had studied the other religions and was so obviously biased towards his, but he wasn't even interested enough to do so. I don't know the exact number of Buddhists and Muslims living in Alabama, but I imagine there are a couple, and they probably should feel
Actually, you're right, it is a couple, but
they're two great people. Right. One other line that I like, he went on to talk about abortion. We're not going to cover too much of that, but he did say, if technology is supposed to increase our knowledge, how did we become so stupid? Yeah. Which, after watching his clip, I think is a great question. I would love to find out how that happened.
Watching his clip and hearing those people. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. You tell them, Roy.
And that was the Life Luncheon.
The Life Luncheon?
Yeah, that he was at. It was sponsored by Pro-Life Mississippi.
I bet the food fucking sucked.
That's random.
Well, Alabama, it's probably pretty good.
Actually, it probably was, yeah. That's some gravy.
That's too bad, yeah.
What I love is when dumb people make random points and then the crowd goes,
That's what I mean, yeah.
Like, they didn't bring the Quran in the Mayflower.
On the Mayflower, right. And it sounds good. It's like, oh, it's great imagery. And somebody's like, wow, yeah, you know.
Yeah, but they brought over people who then wound up, setting up the colonies, and then Jefferson and Madison came along and then wrote, you should not establish a religion. Okay, and by the way, Jefferson literally said, like, it doesn't matter, this is not a Christian nation.
Correct.
And it doesn't matter if you're a Mohammedan, it doesn't matter what you are in this country. So it's not like he was unaware of Muslims.
On Jefferson's tombstone, it says, author of the Articles on Religious Freedom.
Yeah.
So that is what, and also said also said that he founded the University of Virginia. But
why did you go there, Michael?
No. But truthfully, I mean that's exactly right. So he's talking about all these great pillars of history, and what did they say? Exactly the opposite of what Justice Roy Moore said.